Welcome to another fire discussion with Empire, where we share stories to elevate leaders. My name is Mimi and I'll be your host for today. I am honored to introduce our next guest. He is a father, a singer, and author of Disqualified. Please help me welcome the one and only Dr. George Fabre. George, thank you so much for being here.
Definitely a pleasure, and I'm really elated to be here with Midland, aka Mimi, live in Empire. It's just definitely a pleasure.
I am honored. Thank you so much. Obviously, your book, Disqualified. Tell us a little bit about this.
I looked at it, the Disqualified brand that just came to me in a vision, and I just wanted to remind people that no matter what you can encounter in life, you are still qualified. And if you notice the dis part of the word qualified, disqualified, but the dis is X'd out, meaning that you are still qualified. So it reminds people that no matter what happens, your failures, your experiences and challenges that have put you in position or compromising positions, it's just a reminder that no matter what you are in life, you are still qualified. And at this capacity, a lot of the situation hit home. I had several people that I personally know who's gone through these circumstances, and as a result of it, they felt as though they were no longer worthy or capable or qualified to be in certain positions, certain office, or certain areas, whether it's ministry, whether it's church, whether it's education, whatever have you in corporate America. And the book was just basically a reminder that no matter what happened, no matter what you encounter, no matter what the circumstances were, ultimately, you still have an opportunity to live and live again.
I love that. Great answer there. I know you mentioned reading your book, great read. I would highly recommend this to everyone. You mentioned this is primarily for people who've gone through divorce and also people who are engaged or even single people.
Right.
What did you see was lacking in the divorce and the marriage community that prompted you, that you said that was lacking?
Very good question. Definitely a book. I always tell people who's divorced, it's a good book to encourage.
Yeah.
I tell people who's engaged, it's a good book so you can empower or, understand what it is that an individual can encounter, because these certain things do happen. And it's also for the single, prevention before cure. So people don't think that you're discriminated. Everyone, as Mimi said, can read the book. I believe that the divorce community oftentimes have been neglected at certain capacity. We just, you divorce and then there's always that, hey, life goes on and that's just about it, and then you move on. But there are certain needs that haven't been met, or certain criterions or circumstances that haven't been catered to. I believe a lot of people who've gone through divorce went through the process alone. Oftentimes they went through the process, they didn't have support. They didn't have family support. They didn't engage in having these more so a focus group, or even just plain old therapy. Oftentimes we have the proclivity to think that we don't need help or we don't want help, because the truth of the matter is it's not that we don't want help in some cases, we just don't want to engage others in our privacy. Because bringing somebody into your private space is major, especially after someone you trusted is now parting ways with. So someone you've trusted and invested years with, invested your life with, time that you can never get back. You've invested with that individual that you trusted. Now you're going to bring some other individual into your private space. So oftentimes people think of it from that component, but not thinking, you know what? That's really an opportunity for you to truly vent to somebody who doesn't know and who will be unbiased and provide you some good insight. So I basically wanted to cater to the divorced population in this book, but also giving them an opportunity to realize, hey, it's not over. It's not the end of your life because he left, because she left, because he moved on, because she moved on. No matter how ugly it was, no matter how embarrassing it was, especially when you got to remember, when you get married, marriages oftentimes, you don't really just get married alone. You marry into a family and into a community, because when you have the wedding, it's not just you and the spouse.
Like the whole world to come to your wedding.
Exactly.
To rejoice.
To rejoice and celebrate.
Right.
Now imagine a celebration that becomes a funeral. So you just think to yourself, hey, you know what? This is one of those things where, I wanted to engage with that community and let them know, especially with what I experienced from my personal standpoint, whether it was the church, whether it was my family, because my family's a very Christian-based family, come from a plethora or lineage of ministers. And when I encountered what I encountered, I had so much fingers getting pointed at me. And it's like my back was against the wall. And I said, you know what, even if I may not be able to, in this time, or during my time, be able to sit in a certain platform again, but somebody else from the next generation, and that's my faith, because of this book, will be able to be granted that opportunity to break barriers, break curses, break and build new walls and new platforms that will allow people to hear their testimony, hear this testimony, and do great things.
See, I love the fact that you said when you get married, it's like a celebration. You invite everybody over and it's voice something that,
right.
You don't want to talk about it. It's not,
Exactly.
You're not going to send an invite.
Right.
Where do you see shame being part of this? I know that is one thing you mentioned in your book.
Right.
And I know talking about funeral, it's almost like your marriage is dead.
Right.
Why do you think shame? We all go through breakups and it's a painful thing to go through.
Right.
Why do you think shame is so apparent?
Very good question. Breakups, if you're a girlfriend and a boyfriend, breakup is, hey, you go your way, I go my way, and we're done. A marriage is a covenant, which means God, the two involved, and then the two involved with the community, the families merging. So two people from two different environments coming into one home. The shame is essentially that the basic. We don't even need to get detailed. The other being as professional and educated as we are, we don't even need to put a prolific answer to it. The shame is just the mere fact that it didn't last. Nobody wants to know that anything that they started didn't last. You open up a business and then the business got marketing and got a promotion out of nowhere, out of this world, and people heard and knew about it just to find out that it foreclosed. Somebody opens up a firm just to find out that firm was caught in a fraudulent act, whether intentional or non-intentional. It's a shame. So essentially the shameful part is what you invested in, what you birthed, what you took time to hold, ultimately just didn't work. So it's a shame. The community's gonna look at you like, dang, just to think that money was invested, time was invested, all the efforts, emotions are involved, you name it, and just to see at the end of the day, it just didn't work. Nobody wants anything that they've invested in, anything that they poured into to fail.
How did church play a vital part in not only this divorce or divorce?
That the church plays a major part in that, because the church is a community. That's one of the communities, because we mentioned communities. And I believe the church is a very important, impactful, and imperative community to the substance of the marriage. And if the marriage doesn't last, they play a major role in how the individuals moving forward as far as their faith, as far as their ability to sustain, as far as their ability to continuously work actively in the ministry. I believe they play a major role in that. The church is very important to that. And that's why in the book I interviewed, and one of my questions in the book was from people, whether they were a church or not, and if they were, how the church was supported. And unfortunately, the church was not as supportive as we would expect. And I didn't put that in the book to embarrass the church. I put that in the book just to show the church that there's something that we need to do. There's still more work that we need to do. Nobody's perfect. Nobody possesses perfection. But there are still areas where, if it's within our reach, in our capacity, step in, help out. If Mitten is having an issue with her spouse, and it somehow it doesn't work, there were reconcilable differences. She cannot handle what he did in this case, and she has to move on. There's a need for ministry. counsel, support to be there for both, so that either or parties are able to maintain and keep their faith. Because any any catastrophe, any dilemma can put an individual in a position where they feel like they stray away from something that both couples